is the last tow of our trailer in the half ton. Got her all hooked up back the way she's supposed to be. And we're just going to take her out and run the same route that we ran with the 110 the other day. See how she does. I don't think it'll be anything too impressive. We've put 5,000 or 6,000 miles on this thing towing already. And it tows well, but it'll definitely be a different experience than what you see with a diesel. So here we go. So now we're approaching the bumpy section, which I ran in its entirety yesterday with the big truck, and I'll do it again today with this just to see if we can see any significant differences. I'm going to do like I did yesterday. I'm going to try to run it at the 55 miles an hour, which is about the speed I was at once we get up there. I've just got the thing in drive, full eco mode, so letting the transmission, this 8-speed, do whatever it is it wants to do. There we are. 55 miles an hour in cruise, and I'm going to run this entire trip in cruise control just like I did with the diesel. I don't normally do that with this because it tends to really shift a lot, especially when you go into some hills, but just to make it a comparison, that's what I'm going to let it do, just drive itself, and we'll see what the fuel economy and the comfort level is while it's doing that. Couple of differences today. It's about 30 degrees cooler today than it was yesterday. It's only 49 degrees right now. It was close to 80 yesterday. And it's rather windy right now. It was a little windy yesterday, but it wasn't too bad in one of the bumpy sections. But, so, we will make our round trip and we will see how different it is. 65. We're just going to drive it like we did yesterday. Let the truck take care of itself, and we'll see where we end up. You can see already that was fourth gear, about 4,500 miles an hour, just 4,500 miles an hour, 4,500 RPM just to come up that hill. The big diesel yesterday didn't shift out of sixth, so it's going to be an interesting ride. All right, so far it's going about as I expected. I have to say that the stability has been fine at the 65 miles an hour, no issues. It is a bit windy, so we're getting just poofed around a little bit, but nothing that's made me put two hands on the wheel. It's been pretty good, no issues at all. A lot of fifth gear, a couple of spots of fourth gear already, just trying to maintain speed. A few times the cruise control and the transmission have gotten a little confused in some of the hills, and really put themselves in a not necessarily as correct a gear as possible. What are we doing? I hate panhandlers. Anyway, so we are going to now continue on our way up to Doloroso and see how she does. Again, we are in Doloroso, and as you could just hear, that was this combo with the half ton and the big trailer requiring fourth gear just to get up the front side. And right now our trans temperature's at 201, coolant's at 206, and the oil temperature's actually gotten up to 237 just getting up the easy side of this hill. So now we're going to go down into the valley, turn around the same spot we did. That'll give the oil good time to cool down, and then we're going to run this, everything else the same way, 65 miles an hour with the cruise control, and see what we do. I know it can do it. It can absolutely maintain the speed, but the key is how hot's that oil going to get. And remember, this truck has a very large aftermarket derail oil cooler with an integrated fan in it for exactly this hill. So this is not stock when it comes to oil temperatures. See, we're already down to 228 and dropping really quickly now that we're on the backside. It's going downhill. So the oil cooler is definitely doing its job. But so we're going to go up here, turn around, and then we're going to run some video and see what she looks like. And we've made the turn. Now we're gonna get back up to speed, and we're on our way home. Something that I think is interesting is the wind today, because it it's probably about 20 to 25 miles an hour, just about dead out of the north. So we were bucking about a 20 mile an hour headwind all the way up, and now we're getting pushed. So on average, I think it's going to work out because it's a pretty good trip and it's windy the whole way. But this is also going to show you that this is an example of pulling this hill with this setup with a 20 mile an hour tailwind. So we're coming up close to it, coming back to the river. And right now we are running at coolant at 203, trans 195, oil 219. So it has cooled off nicely after the turnaround and going downwind a little bit, and the oil pressure is 53. Yeah, she's even able to get up into 7th gear right now, where pretty much the whole way up here it would only get into 7th when you were going down a good hill. It's driving well. Like I said, it's moving around a little bit because it's very windy, but again, nothing at these speeds, it's been nothing that would even make me want to put my other hand on the wheel. So she's running good, driving easy. I think from a ride perspective on the bumps, the half-ton is a little bit smoother than the 1-ton loaded, but I think that's mainly because, you know, it doesn't have the suspension. It moves around. And here we go. Cruise is set at 65. Yep, shifted into 5th. That wind is really helping today. Very rare to be able to pull this hill in 5th gear in this truck with this combination. That wind is really helping today. Coolant 208, trans 195, oil 230. Up to the second hump. Gear. Wow, downshift into 6th even, or upshift. Yeah, there she goes. You can see how many times it has to shift though, and this is again with a 20 mile an hour tailwind. So normally that's just solid 4th pretty much all the way up these hills. But that was a very good pull. let's see, what do we got? 206, 197, 228. And 195 on the trans drop. And the coolant's coming down already. So that was pretty good. Again, with the headwind and then the tailwind, I think it's going to average out pretty well as far as our fuel economy goes. Just to give you an idea of what it drives like with the half-ton versus the 1-ton. And I don't know if you can see those trees moving, but it is really windy out there today. All right, so we're going to head on home and see where we end up. If you heard that at the intersection there, the back tire slipped a little bit next to the cop wall, but that's something that's happens a lot with this truck. It's in two-wheel drive right now, and and I wasn't even trying to get away from the stop sign because I'm sitting next to a cop and 15 clowns standing in the damn intersection. So I'm just driving normally, but it tends to slip the back tires as it gets moving. So a lot of times, especially if it's wet, you can't get away from a stop with this thing. So that's where four-wheel drive is really nice if you're towing something this size with a smaller vehicle. But otherwise, she runs good. No major issues. We're just going to carry on home. So we've about made it back home. Good drive. Looks like our average mile per gallon on that round trip was right at 8. Which isn't too bad. Normally I would have done better than that, but I don't normally run with the cruise control. I use momentum up and down the hills, and probably could have gotten a little more on a normal day. But again, this was for a test, so doing exactly what we wouldn't do, but trying to make everything as equal as possible. Not too much traffic. Everything went pretty well. And we're gonna get this back home, and ideally, that's the last time that this trailer will be towed by this truck. Because we're going to do the final switchover of all of the weight distributing hitch parts to the big one. And that's going to be the end for this. Although she's done really well. And I think that although it moves around a bit, the Bilstein 5100s that I have on it really help control the porpoising that you get on these smaller vehicles when you're towing a heavy load. And otherwise everything just ran like I expected it to. So she's good, and we're home. So she didn't do bad. like she always does. Handled it well. No drama really. Although you sure do rev the engine to hold your speed on a gas motor with one of the smaller vehicles. And she moves around a bit more than the big one. But nothing, once you get your weight distributing hitch set up properly, nothing that's uncomfortable or certainly nothing uncontrollable. But it does require quite a bit of preload on the bars for a trailer this size and a truck this small. And but I'm real happy with how she tows. But it'll be nice to have the big one going forward. And we'll relegate this to towing the boat. But so that's towing the big trailer with the half ton.